Hello YouTubers! Christmas is coming up and I thought I'd make my great-grandson a gift for Christmas. This is a set of Lincoln logs or American logs. Nice construction toy for a young boy to have. American logs are similar to Lincoln logs except they're square with a rounded edge. Nice beginner project. Only requires a table saw with a dado blade, a router table, and a sander. And now I'll show you the process to go through to build these. Now this is part one of the build. Basically what we've got here is I'll refer to these as how many dado cuts there are. This is a single. Then we have a double, a triple, and a quadruple. Now for part one. Okay, now for this project we're going to start off by making a small jig or sled for the table saw. The green is the table saw and this will be the jig. Now I had one I tore apart, a jig that I'm going to use, but it's basically about 8.5 inches long, about 6 inches wide, with a runner on the bottom. Of course that may vary depending upon your table saw. The thickness isn't critical, and I cut these 3 pieces here out of 1/2 inch plywood. The thickness isn't critical, the width isn't critical. These are about 1 inch wide. And these will go on like so. And there'll be a little end cap on one of these here. And then I cut these 2 pieces. I had a piece of scrap about 150 thousandths thick, and I cut these, and one of these will go like so, and the other one will go over here. Here's the jig all glued up. Like I mentioned before, the size isn't really that critical. The only thing that's critical is that these 3 pieces here have to be perpendicular to the blade, and these 2 pieces here have to be parallel with the blade. Now on this jig is about 8.5 long, 6 inches wide. The size of the base is not critical. I made these 3 bars 1 inch out of 1/2 inch stock. This is 1/2 inch. The only critical dimensions on this is these 3 should be perpendicular to the blade, 90 degrees. Then I cut 2 small strips here and here. This one is 3/8 of an inch. Actually it's 3/8 of an inch. from this edge. This one is 2 1/4 inches from the edge, which will give us 3 inches on center for the dados. I added this piece to the bottom. This will allow me to insert the stock this way to make the first dado cut, and I did this so I don't have to square off the ends on each one of these. In the final process, they'll be put on here and cut to the 3/8 length on the end. And that's really about it for the jig. Okay, I got a bunch of stock here. This one happens to be oak, 3/4 inch. What I want to do is rip some strips down to about 700, 710 wide, slightly narrower than the height. Okay, now we've got that done. Let me check it. Okay, we got just under 700 thou. That should be adequate. Next we'll, if I can find a pencil, I like to put a line here to show which is the narrow edge, and then the dados will be put on the top and bottom of this. So we'll go ahead and we'll rip up some more pieces. Okay, now I've installed a 3/4 inch dado stack, and I set the height here to a little under 3/16 from the sled top. The next thing, after you've ripped your stock, I usually put a line across indicating that this is the top, and the side's a little narrower. This is 3/4 of an inch nominal. This is about, I cut these about 700 thousandths wide, or about 50 thousandths smaller than this way. Now to use this jig, the first cut, we'll place it in up against the stop like so. And we'll cut 2 slots, one on the bottom side of this, and then we'll flip it over and we'll cut one on the top. You know, bottom flipped over. Then we'll turn this around and we'll hook it on to this piece here and cut the next one, rotate it, cut that one, move it over, cut this one, rotate it, cut this one, and do that all the way across. So now for a demonstration. Okay, like I say, we want to do that all the way across. We got another piece here, and you know, you want a little bit of slop in there. This is cut about 700 thousandths wide. This way, it's pretty close to 3/4. So they'll fit together like so. Now once you have all these notched, you can take the dado set out and put in a regular blade. Set this to the end jig here. You'll notice it's sticking out just a hair, and then you just trim the end off. Flip it around, trim the other end off. As far as the routing, now I used a 3/16 roundover bit to route these 4 edges. You can do that either before or after you cut the dados, doesn't really matter. That is just about takes care of how to use the jig. Now you may wonder why I didn't make this end to cut it to length. I could have made this 3/8, but I didn't want to have to score off all these ends, so that's the reason why it cuts that one a little bit longer. And then you come up to here with a regular blade in there and trim them off so they're all the same length. When you get done cutting these, sometimes you'll have quite a bit left over. I shouldn't have made a notch here, but sometimes you can get a single one in there. Here's another example. See, that's too short. But if I put this back in here and cut this, now that's a single block. Now what I'll do is, you can obviously tell they're not the standard length. So I'll just kind of draw a line around here to remind me that when I trim these, and I put it in here, and I trim that off, then I have to cut it here also and trim that end off. Now this is a 2-notch piece, and then of course, you know, you have other lengths. This is a 3-notch piece, but not quite enough room here to get the 4th one in. But you can make them different lengths. 5. This will be a 5-notch piece, or I can trim these off and separate them using this part of the jig here and make as many shorts or long ones, 2 or 3, 4-notch, whatever. I would recommend on short pieces like this not to make these too short. You know, if it's definitely if it's less than 2.5 inches, I would just toss them and don't even bother with those. You want this at least 3 inches long so you can get a good hold on there when you run it through. So, and then when it comes time to trim these, always trim the short end first. Trim it that way and then flip it around. You can trim it that way. Okay, now I've set up a 3/16 round over bit in the router table, and we're going to route these edges. Now on these small blocks, there's no way you can route this small block in here. There just isn't enough surface there against the fence. It's too dangerous. So before separating these small blocks, they need to be routed first. So with the aid of my little grabber here, we'll route this one. Okay, now that's all there is to the rounding the edges. Don't round the ends. A little hand sanding or touch it against a disc sander or belt sander will be adequate for that. Now this block here is ready to be cut to length, these 2 blocks. And then we can proceed on with some of the other ones. Also notice that I'm doing this with the dados facing up and down. Don't try and route it this way. You get a better cut if they're facing up and down. Now this one here is ready to be cut to length. Okay, now we'll get into trimming. I put my regular blade back in, and now we'll use the top part of the jig. You'll fit the stock on like so and trim them off. Note the line. Gives us a double and a single. Now here's 2 singles. And there's your 2 singles. That's really all there is to the trimming. Once I get them all trimmed up, then I'll just hit the ends on the belt sander. Okay, now the ends are sanded up. The only thing we have to do yet is knock off some of these burrs here. That's probably the most tedious job with a small sanding block, and then they'll be done except for applying a finish. This is a very fun toy for a young boy to have. Very easy to build. And this concludes part 1. Part 2 will consist of some special parts. Thank you. I hope you like it. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel.